Hi students. After having a meeting with the math department, I decided we are going to kind of change gears a little bit. I was going to do chapter 5 as a review. However, we will review chapter 5, but we're going to save that for the end of the school year. We're going to go ahead and move along now to chapter 3. And the first lesson in chapter 3 is working with parallel lines and transversals. So on the board, as you can see, parallel lines, I'm going to go a little closer here. Parallel lines are lines that never intersect. So I have line A and line B, and they are going on in both directions, never intersecting. These are parallel lines. The next set of lines I have right here, I need to label. Lines A and B are again parallel. They go on in both directions, never intersecting. That's parallel lines. And this line that cuts through them, this we're going to label as T. That is called a transversal line. It cuts through parallel lines. So that's the definition of what a transversal line is. Now, another key term that you do need to know, which we probably should know by now, but let's just make sure, it's the definition of a right angle. If you have lines that are perpendicular, perpendicular means they will intersect and they form a right angle. A right angle is indicated with a little drawing like this, looks like a box. And this, if you see this box, this means that the angle is 90 degrees. So that's what a right angle is. And again, we can see that when we have perpendicular lines. Okay, so there's some vocab for you, a little bit of vocab. Now, what we need to know, let me draw some transverse lines right here, or parallel lines with a transversal going through them. Okay, here I have my parallel lines. I'm going to label these lines. I am at school right now. That was the bell. I'm going to label these lines A and B, and I'm going to draw a transversal line going through them. Now what you guys need to know is that when you draw, let's label this transversal line as T. When you draw a transversal line going through parallel lines, we have some angles that are equal to each other, and it's the angles that are in the same place. So this angle is going to be equal to this angle. This angle, I'll draw it with 2 lines, is going to be equal to this angle. This angle, I'll draw it with 3 lines. I know I'm getting lines going everywhere here. This angle is going to be equal to this angle with 3 lines. And just for the simple fact that I'm running out of room, I'll do a squiggly line. This angle is going to be equal to this angle. So your angles that are in the same place are going to be equal to each other. That's going to come in very handy. So let's say, for example, I don't know, if this angle were 30 degrees, then that means the angle in the same place below is also going to be 30 degrees. Okay? All right, so that's one thing you need to know. The next thing you need to know, I'm only going to draw one line for this because it's just a little example. If you have a straight line, and let's say another line cuts through it, let's say that they give you, well, I just used 30. Let's use 30 again. If they give you that angle is 30 and they want to know what that angle next to it is, guys, the angle of a straight line is 180. So this, let me see if I can do this. This whole thing right here, this whole angle is 180 degrees because it's straight. It's a straight line. So what we would need to do in order to find this question mark is we would need to take 180 minus 30 and see what that equals. And I hope you guys can do this in your head. 180 minus 30 gives us an angle, that's a degree sign, sorry, it kind of looked like a 6, gives us 150. So the question mark here, the answer would be 150 degrees because the entire straight line is 180. And then you would just subtract out that little piece of 30. Okay. Now I know that this video is going fast. It's kind of hard to do these videos when you guys aren't sitting here because I can't take your questions. I'm not sure. If you have any questions, please make sure that you email me, okay, or message me, on LiveGrades. Okay, so let's look at an example together. Real quick example here. Okay, the example I want to give, let's say that we have parallel lines. And we'll label our lines A and B. They are parallel. We'll say here that a transversal line is going through them. And let's say that this first angle here is 100 degrees. And I want to know what, we'll call this angle 1, and we'll call this angle 2. I want to know what angles 1 and angle 2 are. How could we figure this out? Well, we need to remember back to some of the things I've already said on this video. I know that this angle here is equal to this angle. They're in the same spot, so they are equal to each other. Therefore, I know that angle 1 is equal to 100 degrees. Okay, and again, that's because they are in the same position. Okay, now, how do we figure out angle 2? We need to remember what I said a moment ago about if it's on a straight line, that these two angles should equal 180 degrees. So we need to do a little bit of math for this one. Angle 2 is going to equal 180 degrees minus whatever angle 1 was, and we already have that here. It's minus 100 degrees. Okay, so if you do that math, you're going to get the answer, that's a 0, sorry, of 80 degrees. So angle 1 is 100 because it's at the same place. And angle 2 is 100 plus something here that's going to equal 180. I did that as a subtraction problem. 180, and again, maybe I should just put this is because that is a straight line. Anytime you have a straight line, the whole angle of the straight line is 180. So 180 minus the 100 that we had in angle 1, and that gives you an answer of 80 degrees. So there's our example problem. All right, now, this is a shorter video. Again, guys, if you have questions, please message me on LiveGrades. I'll be happy to help you. I'm going to give you some homework problems right now. There's only 3. And you can just message me on LiveGrades the answers to this. Okay, so here we go. Homework problems. Problem number 1 is right there. We have line A and we have line B, and it has a transversal line going through it. I gave you this angle. This angle is 107. I want to know, you need to solve for angles 1 and 2. Again, just like the example that we just did, solve for those and email me the answers. That's problem 1. Problem 2 is down here. We have parallel lines A and B with a transversal. Oh, and I just realized I didn't label that. With a transversal line running through it. I gave you this angle. This angle is 49 degrees, and I want you to solve for these angles, angles 1 and 2. Solve for those. That is your second homework problem. And last but not least, I have a challenge problem for you. Now, when you see this one, do not panic. If you remember back through what this video has already talked about, you will be able to figure out all of this. Here's the challenge problem. Challenge problem number 3. Okay, we have, and I didn't label these lines again, I'm sorry. We have line A and B parallel to each other. We have a transversal line of T running through it. I have only given you one angle. I gave you this right here as an angle of 61. I want you to solve for angles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And again, if you can just remember that the angles are equal in the same places and that a straight line equals 180, you will be able to solve all this. If you need any help, please message me on LiveGrades, and please also don't forget you are to do some ALEKS after you finish these. Have a great day, guys. Bye.